Google's mid-range A series phones have quickly become some of the most anticipated launches each year. Like its predecessors, the Pixel 6a is a sub-$500 handset that offers excellent cameras, performance, and battery life. This year's model moves the series over to Google's own Tensor chip and brings over the two-tone color scheme and camera bar the company debuted on its flagships last year. With so many similarities to its higher-end siblings, the Pixel 6a feels less like the budget option and more like a smaller version of Google's best phone. Similar to recent A-series Pixels, the 6a is basically a clone of the company's flagships. This time though, Google didn't skimp on the color options for its budget handset. In addition to white and black, the Pixel 6a also comes in sage as well. It has a two-tone palette similar to the Pixel 6 and 6 Pro with a black horizontal camera bar about an inch from the top. The top strip is a paler pastel green, while the rest of the rear is a darker, more muted shade that's similar to the Pixel 5. I prefer the mintier color of the Pixel 6, but the 6a's version is pretty enough. At least the camera bar protrudes less, and the Pixel 6a doesn't wobble when placed face up on a surface. It's also rated IP67 for water and dust protection, and though I thankfully have yet to drop my review unit or get it wet. I do wish it had Gorilla Glass Victus protecting its screen like its flagship counterparts, but at least it's covered by Gorilla Glass 3. I also wish this thing had a headphone jack like the Pixel 5a, but unfortunately, Google saw fit to remove it this year. Though it's not much smaller than the Pixel 6, the 6a is noticeably lighter and easier to maneuver with one hand. To be specific, the 6a is about 30 grams or 1 ounce lighter, but it also has a smaller 6.1-inch screen. Meanwhile, the Pixel 6 has a 6.4-inch display and is a whole 0.05 inches thicker. As far as mid-range phones go, in terms of size, the Pixel 6a feels like a happy medium, weighing in at 6.3 ounces or 178 grams with a 6.1-inch screen. The latest iPhone SE has a tiny 4.7-inch panel and correspondingly weighs a mere 5.09 ounces or 144 grams, while the Samsung Galaxy A53 with its 6.5-inch display comes in at 6.66 ounces or 189 grams. With a 2400 by 1080 resolution and a 20 by 9 aspect ratio, the Pixel 6a's OLED delivers a higher pixel density than the Pixel 6. But it also refreshes at just 60 Hz, while the 6 and 6 Pro go up to 90 Hz and 120 Hz respectively. So, while photos, wallpapers, icons, and text all look as crisp and vivid on the Pixel 6a as on Google's higher-end phones, when it comes to scrolling and games, the 6a can feel sluggish. High refresh rates aren't unheard of on mid-range phones either. The Galaxy A53, for example, can get up to 120 Hz, although to be fair, the iPhone SE is also stuck at 60 Hz. Google has long excelled at photography, and the Pixel 6a is a continuation of that tradition. Its pair of 12-megapixel rear cameras and 8-megapixel front sensor took bright, colorful pictures that rival those from more expensive phones. Details like window panes and individual blades of grass were crisp, and Google continues to deliver superior images in low light. Thanks in large part to night sight, the Pixel 6a generally captured brighter images in extremely dim environments, retaining greater detail even in shadows. The stationary bicycles in an exercise room at night were clearer in shots from the Pixel 6a than those from the iPhone SE, and I could even read the words on a sign in Google's version. Apple's decision to cut the night mode on its budget phone puts it at a real disadvantage here. Compared to the iPhone SE, the Pixel 6a's pictures tended to have lower contrast and less saturated colors. Apple also produces better dynamic range, and it was hard to pick my favorite images between the two. Google has the upper hand when it comes to versatility though, since it has an additional ultra-wide lens compared to the iPhone's solo rear camera. The Pixel 6a made it easier to zoom out to grab expansive landscapes. Instead of having to pinch on the iPhone, you can switch between preset distances like 0.6 times, 1 time, and 2 times, just by tapping the on-screen buttons. I also preferred Google's portrait mode, which let me get closer to subjects and applied a shallower depth of field. Both the iPhone and the Pixel took selfies of similar quality, and the differences between them came down to very slight variations in color temperature. Given Google and Apple use 8-megapixel and 7-megapixel sensors respectively, the similarity in sharpness isn't surprising. Despite having the sharpest cameras, the Galaxy A53 delivered photos that were just close in quality to the Pixel 6a and iPhone SE. Its 32-megapixel front camera and primary 64-megapixel sensor on the back didn't result in sharper images, although I still liked the shots I got. Compared to the Pixel and iPhone though, the Galaxy A53's camera was noticeably slower and struggled to capture multiple shots in rapid succession. Though Google did equip the Pixel 6a with some of the tools found on its flagships, like Magic Eraser to edit away photo bombers, for example, features like Action Pan and Long Exposure are absent. That's fine by me, since Magic Eraser is the most useful of the lot and works as well on the 6a as on the Pro. As the first A-series phone using Google's own Tensor chip, the Pixel 6a's performance should be pretty similar to its flagship siblings. In general, this was true. The 6a barely stuttered when jumping between games, editing photos, browsing Instagram, and shooting videos. Just like my Pixel 6 Pro though, the 6a tended to run warm when playing even casual games such as Hong Kong Mahjong or the New York Times crossword for more than 15 minutes. It never got alarmingly hot, but I did want to put it down after a while. Occasionally, the Pixel 6a would take a few seconds to display information in an app, but that mostly happened in the first hours after I set up the phone, so I'll chalk that up to early loading issues. I am more concerned about the long-term stability of the Pixel 6a's software, especially given all the problems plaguing the Pixel 6 and 6 Pro since they launched. I haven't encountered anything major during my testing, but most of the bugs on the other two only started showing up weeks after our review period. For now, I can only say the software behaves as expected, and that Google supports up to 5 years of Pixel updates. Switching wallpapers and applying new system-wide color schemes generated by Android happened without significant delay, and everything I enjoy about Pixel UI is here. I love being able to just tell my phone stop to silence it when an alarm is going off, although on my Pixel 6 Pro this usually takes around 3 attempts, with me getting increasingly frustrated each time until I'm screaming at the phone. I also appreciate assistant features like call screening and hold for me, which make the excruciating experience of being on the phone a lot less painful. Maybe I've grown used to the Pixel 6 Pro's sluggish in-display fingerprint sensor, but the Pixel 6a's scanner didn't feel as tricky. It's still slower than Samsung's, but it's serviceable. The A series has long stood out for excellent battery life, and once again, the Pixel 6a is a winner. It clocked a whopping 19 hours and 10 minutes on our video rundown test, which is shorter than the Pixel 5a, Pixel 6, and Galaxy A53, but still hours longer than the iPhone SE. While the iPhone SE offers wireless charging, unfortunately, the Pixel 6a doesn't. It also only supports fast charging with wired 18-watt chargers. The good news is though, the 6a is also compatible with M3 or T4 hearing aid standard, as well as sub-6 and millimeter wave 5G. I think it's time we stop seeing the Pixel A series as a budget line. With its refined design, powerful processor, and satisfying cameras, there are more similarities than differences between the 6a and its flagship siblings. It is easily one of the best phones for the money. Yeah, it would be nice to get a faster, brighter screen and wireless charging, but those aren't a given on a mid-ranger. If you can't live without a higher refresh rate and can spend no more than $500, the Galaxy A53 is an alternative, although be warned that its performance is questionable. In the US, there is no better Android phone under $500 than the Pixel 6a. For reviews of other mid-range phones, as well as coverage of the world of consumer technology, make sure you subscribe to Engadget. And as always, thank you for watching.